Welcome to This Must Be Heard, a recurring podcast featuring discussions of Delaware County Community College's events, achievements, and initiatives. Today, the New Media Lab's faculty advisor, Maria Boyd, and co-executive producers, LaShonda Stevens and Kara Oakes, discuss what the New Media Lab is and how it got started. Thank you for listening.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of This Must Be Heard. My name is Shonda, and I have here is my co-host, Kara Oakes, and we will be talking to Professor Maria Boyd about the New Media Lab. Thank you, ladies, for joining me.
So happy to be here. I'm very excited about talking about the New Media Lab.
Yeah, I'm excited to get this conversation started.
All right, well, let's get started then. The first question is, what is the New Media Lab?
What is the New Media Lab? Great place to start. The New Media Lab is a student organization at DCCC, and we create original digital content that we house currently on YouTube, and we're in the process of getting our content up on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. And we produce short form podcasts on a variety of topics. Right now, we have 3 shows. As a student organization, we have a mandate to the college to serve the college. So our show called This Must Be Heard fulfills that requirement. It covers DCC-related events, achievements, and initiatives. My students also want to talk about fun things. So we have a pop culture podcast called Study Break that focuses on topics of sports, TV, music, video games, movies, and more. And then right at the beginning of the pandemic, students really wanted to express themselves in more creative ways. And so literally in the spring of 2020, at the height of lockdown, we launched our 3rd podcast or show called The Written. And The Written features student-created short fiction, nonfiction, and poetry. So those are the shows that we have now. The New Media Lab is also, in its essence, an extracurricular activity for currently enrolled DCC students who have a 2.0 or better. And we operate at a studio on the Marple campus, and we're available on Zoom for meetings on Zoom.
I really like that the New Media Lab has the 3 different branches within it and the 3 different types of episodes. Is there, say, different challenges that each type of episode brings to the table for production and stuff like that?
Yeah, I would think so. Yeah, I wouldn't say challenges, but they all have their own specific vibe. So I try to steer our beginning students through Study Break episodes before they get to the This Must Be Heard episodes. Study Breaks are more casual in their tone, and they cover mostly fun information, all right? Whereas the This Must Be Heard episodes are usually something that are created and produced as a collaboration with other departments or divisions at the college that they want to use as a marketing tool. So our more experienced students tend to work on the This Must Be Heard episodes. And then I guess the unique challenge of The Written is we only produce one when a student has a work that they want to share. And we need to get better at connecting with the English department to professors to get them to send us content.
Could you explain to us, how was this organization created?
Okay, yeah. So the New Media Lab, it was my tenure project. And when I started working here, Allison Gleason, who runs the Office of Athletics and Campus Engagement, reached out to me and she said, we have funds for something like a radio station. And I looked into it, and long story short, I felt the better route was podcasting, because that was kind of the new medium of the future. And this was back in 2015, before podcasts really took off. But I had been listening to them for almost a decade, but I knew that they were going to become a thing. And I wanted to get an organization together that could give students real world experience in a medium that is an emerging medium, not a legacy medium. So there's not a lot of jobs in traditional radio anymore, but podcasting is a path. So I reached out to the communication and journalism students. We had 4 students who were our founders, and it took a whole semester just to get approval to name it the New Media Lab. So that those 4 members who are our founders, our first president at that time, all she got to do was get our name be official. And then one of our students did something with information technology, and she was the one who scouted different open source software and the type of equipment that we would need. And so each student just brought something to the table, and then we did some recruiting, and thus the New Media Lab was born.
So during your explanation of how the organization got started, I think you can really tell that since the beginning, this has always been a super student-focused organization. I would be curious to know, as a professor, what's your perspective on why this organization being so student-focused is important?
Oh, okay. So I love that question, and here is why. When you're in the classroom, you get to learn about the history of television and radio. So if you take my mass comm class, we talk about that. We talk about podcasting as a new media form. We look at theory, we look at industry, but we're not actually making anything, right? The New Media Lab is where you get to make stuff and put your name on it and said, I contributed in this way to this thing that is going out to the real world, right? And at a community college in particular, I'm not just thinking about the semester, I'm thinking about the long game, right? So what can I do to help my students get into their transfer institution of choice and build up a portfolio, both literally and figuratively, so they will be more marketable when they hit the job market? Because with the New Media Lab, you can build content that is something you can show, but then you're also building skill sets, right? So one of our former leaders is now interviewing for a job with the White House because of her communication, teamwork, leadership skills. She got singled out by the college, right? She got to give the commencement address. That was Tashia, gave the commencement address. And the one student organization that was mentioned at commencement of spring of 2023 by the president of the college was the New Media Lab. Right? So, yeah.
Awesome. All right. Well, we have our last question.
Okay.
How do students get involved?
How do students get involved? Very easily. They can go to if they're at the Marple campus, they can just go down to the Office of Athletics and Campus Engagement, and they can leave their contact information, and then we'll reach out to them. Or they can email me directly. My email address is mboyd23, so that's MBOYD 23 at dccc.edu. And we have a portal inside of Canvas. And so all you have to do is send me your email address, your DCC email address, and I can add you to the portal in Canvas. And then you'll receive meeting notifications, episode production notifications, and other information on how to get involved.
I think we've mentioned this earlier in our discussion, but I would like to clarify just so that all of our listeners know, as someone who's not a communications major, you don't have to be a communications
major. No, you don't have to be a communications major. In fact, I would say some of our most successful students in the New Media Lab aren't communication majors. We, like I mentioned, Emily Quinn was that tech student who got us started. And when we put her on the mic, it was like she was a reincarnation of an old-timey radio person. They never intended to be on the mic. I heard her on the mic when we were testing the equipment, Raven Amaro, who recently graduated, was a student of mine in my film class, an online class. And I said, hey, I need some artists because we're trying to do social media and I'm not an artist and our social media looks terrible. Help. And she emailed me and she's like, oh, I'm a studio arts major. Again, she said she never wanted to be in the microphone. She wasn't even sure if she wanted to go to meetings, but she would help me with the social media. And of course, I was like, great, thank you. And then I put her on the mic, and then I appointed her to a leadership position, and then she ended up running the meetings. So that you're not going to get pushed into anything you don't want to do. But when I see potential, that really excites me. And the potential can come from any major, any student who's currently enrolled and has a 2.0 or higher. Those are really the only restrictions. Our motto is we're all beginners. And that is so literal, because even when we get really good at something, then the software changes. So now we have to learn it again. Right. And I'm a beginner myself, even as the teacher, because it takes me about 2 years to identify and cultivate the potential in a student. And then when they're really, really great, then they leave me and go on to their other institutions. So I have to start back at the beginning and look for those diamonds in the rough and cultivate them. And not everybody is someone who wants to do all the things. I don't push, but I strongly encourage. Right. And then if I have people who just want to learn how to be in a club and make friends, this is a good place for that too. If they just want to get over being shy, we have a lot of students that just want to practice reading out loud. And we're a safe space, but we're also a brave space, is what I would say.
Well, I think it's time to wrap this up. What excited me about this conversation was learning about how the organization was created, learning that it started off with just a professor project to becoming a whole student body run organization.
Okay.
And it's still running today.
Yeah.
So thank you so much, Professor Boyd, for this conversation. Any final thoughts that you want to share?
I would say that my final thoughts would be try something new, get outside of your comfort zone, be it with the New Media Lab or any of our student organizations. And also, one thing we didn't specifically say is that a strange benefit of having to teach remotely for over a year and a half was that we now have the technology and capabilities to be a student organization, not just for Marple campus students, but also our branch location and online students can participate in various ways with the New Media Lab. We do have that great studio at the Marple campus, but if you can't make it to Marple, we'll bring the New Media Lab to you.
Well, that's about all the time that we have. Thank you so much for my co-host, Kara Oakes, for being here. And thank you, Professor Maria Boyd, for sharing your thoughts about the New Media Lab.
I was glad to help and be here.
Excited I could be your co-host for this episode, Shonda.
And thank you, ladies, and thank you, everyone, for listening. And we're out.
You've been listening to This Must Be Heard, brought to you by the New Media Lab and the Office of Athletics and Campus Engagement. Our hosts and co-executive producers for this episode were LaShonda Stevens and Kara Oakes. Our guest was Professor Maria Boyd. Kara Oakes edited this episode and prepared our title cards. Victoria Culbreth and Samuel Larson designed our cover art. Indigo Fraser composed our theme music, and I, Michelle Stover, was your announcer for this episode. Special thanks to the Director of Athletics and Campus Engagement, Allison Gleason, and our faculty advisor, Professor Maria Boyd. If you have any interest in participating in the New Media Lab, contact the Office of Athletics and Campus Engagement or reach out to us on Instagram at DCCC_New Media Lab. Be sure to like and subscribe to us on YouTube. Thanks again for listening.